Poor young mechanic helps millionaire woman with a flat tire. That single moment changed two lives forever. On a dusty roadside outside Atlanta, a poor young mechanic with grease-stained hands knelt beside a luxury car worth more than everything he had ever owned, while a millionaire woman in a diamond watch stood helplessly beside him. He was invisible to the world, overworked and underpaid, but the humblest smile never left his face as he tightened the last bolt. She, raised in penthouses and private schools, had never met someone who gave without wanting anything back, but there was something in his quiet sincerity that she couldn't ignore. He didn't know her name, her wealth, or the empire she came from. She didn't know why someone so poor still carried such warmth in his eyes. They were two completely different worlds colliding over a flat tire in the heat of Georgia. But what happened next melted hearts in ways no one expected. But why did she come back the next morning? Why couldn't she forget that poor young mechanic? And what secret did he carry that would one day shake both their lives? The late afternoon sun dipped low behind clusters of roadside trees, painting streaks of orange across the sky. Cars hummed past the quiet stretch of highway, but one vehicle sat stranded on the shoulder. A white Bentley Bentayga with its right rear tire sagging into the dust like a wounded limb. Beside it, Emily Hayes paced in frustration, her sapphire heels sinking into gravel, one manicured hand pressed against her forehead. She was 28, daughter of real estate tycoon William Hayes, a woman who had attended gala openings, billion-dollar charity banquets, and flown across coastlines without touching economy class once in her life. Yet here she was, with no driver, late for a brand meeting, and with no idea how to remove a tire bolt. Her purse held platinum cards, but not a single tool. The highway wind carried the scent of engine oil long before she noticed someone walking toward her. A man in faded jeans, black boots covered in dust, and a gray t-shirt splashed with old grease. His hair curled slightly under a baseball cap, and sweat glistened on his brow from hours spent in a shop with no air conditioning. That man was Noah Carter, 25, a poor young mechanic from the South Side, working 12-hour shifts fixing strangers' cars to support his little sister and their aging grandmother. People saw him and saw broke. They saw the rough hands first, the cheap boots second, and rarely bothered to wonder about the heart beneath. Emily looked up, surprised. "Need help?" Noah asked gently, voice rich but humble, as though offering assistance was second nature. She hesitated. Millionaires weren't raised to trust strangers on lonely highways. Yet something in his calm eyes disarmed her. No flashy grin, no lingering stare, just sincerity. "Yes, please. My tire blew and I don't know what to do," she admitted. Noah nodded, already dropping to one knee beside the wheel. He unpacked his old toolbox from the back of his dented Toyota pickup, tools worn smooth from years of use. As he worked, loosening the bolts with skilled hands, Emily watched quietly. His movements were confident, steady, almost graceful. It struck her how easily he solved a problem that left her powerless with all her wealth. "Do you do this for a living?" she asked. "Mechanic," he replied without looking up. "Local shop near Oak Ridge. Been fixing cars since I was 12. She blinked. 12? She tried to imagine a childhood working with oil and metal instead of piano tutors and art lessons. When the spare tire was secured, Noah stood and wiped his hands on a rag. The sun hit him just right, outlining the sweat on his brow, the faint weariness in his stance, and yet the unwavering kindness in his expression. "How much do I owe you?" Emily asked, reaching into her bag. He shook his head. "Nothing. You were stuck. I was here, that's all." That stunned her more than anything. People always wanted something, connections, favors, status, money. But here was a man who worked harder in a day than she had in a month, refusing payment from a millionaire like it meant nothing. "You sure?" she asked. He smiled, soft, genuine. "Fixing something feels good. Payment just makes it a job." Her chest tightened unexpectedly. For a moment they stood there, watching cars rush past like time trying to pull them apart. "I'm Emily," she finally said. "Noah." The name lingered between them like a warm echo. She drove away, but she kept glancing in the mirror, watching him shrink smaller and smaller. Yet something inside her felt larger. A stranger had shown her a kind of humanity she rarely saw in her glittering world. She didn't understand why his smile stayed with her the entire night, why she dreamed of dusty boots and gentle eyes instead of penthouse lights. The next morning, sunlight barely spilled across her high-rise windows before Emily found herself driving through streets she had never explored. The worn asphalt of Oak Ridge, where billboards peeled and corner stores fought time itself. She parked outside a small mechanic shop where Noah stood under a lifted car, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Why had she come? What did she want to say? She didn't know, only that she had to see him again. He turned, surprise flickering, then something warmer beneath it. "Emily," he breathed. And in that moment, wealthy penthouse heiress and poor young mechanic met again. Not by accident this time, but by something deeper neither of them could name. Noah stepped out from beneath the lifted car, his hands still smudged with grease, his eyes carrying that same gentle steadiness Emily hadn't been able to forget. The shop around him buzzed with clattering tools, rolling tires, and the distant rumble of engines. Fluorescent lights flickered above, the kind that hummed faintly like they were tired too. For Emily, raised under chandelier bulbs and polished marble floors, it felt like stepping into another universe. Raw, rugged, unfiltered by luxury. She hesitated at the entrance, adjusting the strap of her sleek handbag. Her perfume lingered in the air, too elegant, too soft for a space filled with rubber and metal. Yet Noah looked at her like she belonged there, like wealth and status were invisible things. "You came back," he said, wiping his hands on a rag as he approached her. "I hope that's okay." The uncertainty in her voice surprised even her. She wasn't used to asking permission. People usually moved aside for her, not the other way around. His smile flickered, warm, unassuming. "It's more than okay," she exhaled, tension leaving her shoulders. "I brought you something," she said, setting a cardboard tray on the workbench. 2 cups of iced sweet tea from a cafe across town. The expensive kind. The kind he'd probably never splurge on for himself. "You didn't have to," he murmured. "I know," she replied softly, "but I wanted to." They sat on overturned crates near the shop's sliding door, sipping chilled sweetness that cut through the heat of the morning. For a while, they simply talked. She learned that Noah didn't just work long hours. He lived for his family. His younger sister, Ava, 17, dreamed of being a nurse but feared the cost of college. Their grandmother, Eleanor, once vibrant and witty, now needed medication Noah struggled to afford. He told these truths not for sympathy but with quiet pride, like love was something he carried with both arms, even when heavy. Emily listened, really listened, and felt something unfamiliar stir inside her. Compassion, yes. Admiration, undeniably, but also a piercing awareness of how sheltered her world had been. "And you?" Noah eventually asked. "What's life like as a millionaire?" Emily chuckled, not with joy but with irony. People think wealth makes life perfect, but money doesn't fix loneliness. It just hides it in bigger rooms. His eyes softened, like he understood more than she expected. "Guess rich or poor, some things hurt the same." The sentence lingered, warm and bittersweet. A phone buzzed in Emily's bag, her father's personal assistant, reminding her about a bored luncheon, a world calling her back, polished, controlled, distant from the scent of motor oil and sun-warmed asphalt. Noah noticed the shift in her expression. "You should go. Busy day, I'm sure." She didn't stand. Instead, she looked around, at the chipped paint, the uneven floor, the calendar curling at the edges, and then back at him. "Can I see more of this place sometime?" she asked. "Not as a customer, as a friend." His surprise was subtle but present, like a ripple across still water. "You want to?" he asked. She nodded. "Yesterday you helped me without wanting anything. It reminded me that kindness still exists. I want to know the kind of person who lives like that." He held her gaze, earnest meeting earnest, and something wordless passed between them. "You can come by any time," he said. Her chest warmed. She left only when absolutely necessary, but something inside her stayed in that shop even after the Bentley disappeared down the road. That evening, Noah sat at his grandmother's small kitchen table, scrolling through news articles about Emily Hayes, her philanthropic ventures, her board involvements, her father's billion-dollar empire. He shook his head in disbelief. She was so far beyond his world, it was almost laughable. Yet she walked into his shop like she wanted to bridge that distance. Ava noticed the way Noah's eyes softened at the screen. "Is that the woman from the road?" she teased, leaning over his shoulder. Noah tried to hide his blush, and failed. "She came by the shop this morning." Ava's eyes widened. "She sought you out?" "Noah, that's not normal rich people behavior." Eleanor chuckled from her armchair. "Love and fate have their own roads, child. Some don't need pavement." Noah laughed, but the words settled deep inside him. Meanwhile, in her penthouse overlooking the city, Emily sat at her window, untouched dinner growing cold beside her. Below, headlights streaked through the dark like moving stars, but all she could see was Noah's smile, honest, unpolished, real. She thought of how his eyes crinkled when he talked about family, how his hands moved with certainty while fixing that tire, how different he was from men at galas who bragged about stocks more than values. Why did she feel this pull? Why did a poor young mechanic occupy her thoughts more than any millionaire she'd ever known? She lay awake late into the night with one truth echoing through her mind. She wanted to see him again. She wanted to know what life looked like through his eyes, not coated in wealth, but rooted in simplicity, grounded in humanity. And somewhere deep inside both of them, something had already begun. The following Saturday, Emily drove without destination, letting instinct guide her. An instinct led her to Oak Ridge again. The Bentley glided through streets she was now less afraid of, more fascinated by. She parked outside the mechanic shop, heart steady, yet strangely eager, like something inside her knew she belonged here today. Noah was under the hood of an old Ford when she walked in. Sunlight spilled across his shoulders, highlighting muscles earned through labor rather than gyms. He looked up, and the way his face lit at the sight of her felt like sunrise itself. "You're back," he said, pushing his cap up. "I said I would be." She smiled. This time she stayed longer, hours, not minutes. She held flashlights while he tightened belts, fetched tools he pointed to, even smudged her palm with black grease once by accident. She gasped, then laughed, really laughed, and Noah found himself laughing with her, surprised by how bright her joy sounded inside these grimy walls. After a while, he asked, "You ever changed a tire yourself?" She blinked. "Not unless tapping my phone to call roadside service counts." "Then today's your lesson," he said. He brought her outside to an old Honda parked near the fence, a junk car used to train new hires. He placed the wrench in her hand, guided her step by step. She struggled, lost grip, almost fell back when the bolt finally cracked loose, and Noah steadied her with a gentle hand at her elbow. Their eyes met, close enough to feel breath, close enough for silence to turn electric, but neither rushed the moment. They smiled instead. Slow, growing, mutual, like something important was unfolding without need for words. Inside the shop, time moved differently around them. They shared stories between repairs, hers about charity galas she never connected with, his about nights spent studying auto manuals while others partied. She learned he dreamed of opening his own workshop someday. Cleaner, bigger, a place where low-income families could afford repairs without fear of being cheated. Emily felt something stir, not pity, but admiration, potential, purpose. She saw a future inside him, not of wealth, but of impact. When lunchtime came, she insisted they step out. Noah led her through back streets to a small taco stand run by an elderly couple. It wasn't fancy, no gold-rimmed plates or shimmering chandeliers, but the tortillas were handmade, the salsa burned just right, and the laughter from surrounding tables felt like real joy rather than curated social charm. Emily closed her eyes as flavors burst across her tongue. "This is better than any five-star place I've been." "Told you," Noah grinned, biting into his taco. They ate slowly, shoulders brushing occasionally, neither pulling away. People looked curious. A woman dressed in designer elegance sitting beside a man in grease-stained denim. But she didn't care. For once, she wasn't performing for society. She was living. After lunch, they walked along a nearby park. Children played along cracked sidewalks, their laughter mixing with distant music. A vendor shook roasted peanuts in a tin tray. Dogs chased frisbees. Nothing was polished, but everything was real. Emily lived her life in perfection, yet here in imperfection, she felt more complete. She watched Noah kneel to help a little boy fix a broken toy truck, using nothing but a hairpin and patience. When the wheels rolled again, the child squealed and hugged him. Emily's chest warmed so deeply she had to steady her breath. This was who he was, a giver even when he had little to give. As the afternoon softened into evening, they sat on a bench beneath old oak branches. Leaves rustled above like whispered blessings. Emily rested her hand on the bench near his, close but not touching. The space between them felt fragile, charged. "Noah," she said quietly, "you changed more than my tire." He turned to her gently. "You made me see life differently. Not everything is measured in dollars. Sometimes kindness is worth more than any fortune." He didn't reply immediately. Instead, he studied her, not the expensive clothing, not the polished nails, but the vulnerability she didn't show the rest of the world. "I think you've changed me too," he admitted softly. "No one from your world ever saw mine, but you did. You came back." Their eyes held, deeper this time, more certain. But the universe doesn't allow magic to bloom without testing it. As Emily leaned back, relaxed and content, her phone vibrated. A name flashed across the screen, William Hayes, her father. She answered, unaware the call would shatter the quiet harmony of the day. "Emily," he said sharply, "reporters have been asking why William Hayes's daughter was seen in Oak Ridge yesterday, in a mechanic shop. Explain." Her heart froze. Noah watched her expression shift, the sunlight dimming behind her eyes. "I'll call you later," she whispered. "No, you'll come home now," her father commanded. "People talk. You know how image matters." Image, status, appearances, everything Noah wasn't, everything she was expected to protect. She ended the call slowly, hands trembling. Noah didn't ask what was wrong. He didn't need to. The weight in her eyes told him all he needed to know. Emily stood from the bench. "I have to go," she breathed, the words tasting like conflict. He nodded, hurt buried beneath understanding. I get it. She stepped back, then paused, as if torn between two worlds, and as she walked away, Noah remained on the bench beneath the whispering oak, watching the woman who changed his life disappear into a future he wasn't sure he'd ever reach. But destiny wasn't finished with them yet, not even close. Emily drove home, with her heart louder than the engine beneath her. Every mile between Oak Ridge and the penthouse felt like she was peeling herself away from something real, replacing laughter with silence, warmth with cold marble floors. When she stepped inside her father's living room, everything glittered. Gold accents, panoramic glass walls, rare art illuminated by recessed lighting, yet she felt painfully out of place. Luxury suddenly felt like distance. William Hayes stood by the bar counter, tall, silver-haired, with the posture of a man who controlled empires. He didn't hug her. He didn't ask if she was safe. He only asked without looking at her. Why a mechanic, Emily? Why Oak Ridge? People talk. Investors worry about association. She stared at him, voice trembling. He's a good man. A poor man, William corrected, as if those words meant everything. Emily felt a crack inside her, the sound of a lifetime of expectations splitting. You raised me to give to charity, to help the poor. But why is kindness only acceptable from a distance? Why not up close? Her father turned slowly, surprised by her challenge. You could have anyone, businessmen, heirs, CEOs. She swallowed hard. Maybe I don't want someone who has everything. Maybe I want someone who knows the value of something small. William's jaw tightened. You will end this. But Emily had already changed. Noah's world had rewired her heart. That night, she couldn't sleep. She walked through rooms filled with expensive emptiness. Crystal chandeliers, silent pianos, imported marble, useless to a lonely soul. Rain tapped the windows as if urging her to move, to choose, to no longer be afraid. She grabbed her keys and drove, again, back to Oak Ridge, back to the place where life felt honest. The mechanic shop was dark, closed, but Noah's house wasn't far. She remembered his storytelling, the cracked sidewalk, the porch light that flickered. When she arrived, she saw him sitting outside, elbows on his knees, thinking into the night. Street lamps cast soft halos over him, like the world itself was watching. He looked up slowly, surprised at the sight of her, standing in rain-soaked hair and trembling breath. Emily. She stepped closer, voice breaking into truth. I don't want marble and gala halls if they mean nothing. I want people who love without condition, people like you. His eyes widened, a flicker of disbelief, then warmth blooming. I'm not your world, he murmured. I'm just a mechanic. She shook her head. You're everything money can't buy. The rain deepened, dripping from eaves, soaking her dress, streaking tears she didn't hide. Noah rose, stepping into the rain with her. You don't belong in the cold, he whispered. Maybe I belong right here, she replied. And then, without wealth, without walls, their lips met in a trembling kiss beneath the storm. It was soft, slow, unsure, yet filled with something stronger than circumstance. Rain plastered their clothes to their skin, but their hearts burned warmer than any hearth Emily had ever known. Inside the house, Ava peeked through the curtain, eyes wide, whispering, Grandma, he's kissing the Bentley lady. Eleanor only smiled, a wise, knowing smile. Some people arrive when you need them most, even if the road to them is full of potholes. The next morning, sunlight rose like blessing over the neighborhood, warm, gold, full of promise. Noah walked Emily through town, hand in hand, unafraid. People stared again, but differently now, with curiosity, with surprise, with hope. Emily didn't care if she was judged. She had finally chosen happiness over expectation. Days turned into weeks and worlds slowly began to blend. Emily invited Noah and his family to dinner, not in the penthouse at first, but at a humble barbecue park where smoke curled into laughter. Noah fixed issues in her foundation she didn't know she had, not of buildings but of perspective. She helped him set up a fund to expand his workshop, not as charity but as a partnership built on respect. Their lives didn't merge perfectly at first. There were whispers, disapproving glances, a father who took time to soften. But love is patient and hearts melt slowly like frost under sunrise. And one afternoon, as cherry blossoms drifted onto the hood of a newly refurbished pickup, Emily watched Noah help a struggling single mother fix her engine, refusing money as always, and she realized she was witnessing something beautiful. The world didn't need another billionaire. It needed men like him. She stepped forward, wrapped her arms gently around him from behind, cheek against his back, and whispered, "You helped me when I had nothing but money. Let me help you build something greater than fortune." Noah turned, rain in his memory, sunlight in his eyes, and kissed her forehead. "We'll build it together." And somewhere between wealth and humble asphalt, love became the bridge. A poor young mechanic helped a millionaire woman with a flat tire. But what happened next melted hearts not because of money nor status, but because two souls from different roads chose to walk the same one, hand in hand, slowly, gently, and forever.